good.
Will, what is it about this defense that's been able to bend but not break in most of these critical situations this year?
I think ultimately we just find a way to get it done. Um, I think in the past we've maybe been a more dominant defense, you can say, but I think ultimately, like those teams of the past, we find a way to get the job done in most circumstances. And I think that just goes back to what we're trained to do. You know, we fight, we're gritty, we get after it until the final whistle, and I think in a lot of situations it's very good for us.
Coach talked about maybe the difference between this season and 18-19 is the expectations. Like, comes down to the end of a game, tight game, you guys expect to win.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, you were part of all of those teams. So do you agree with that? Do you see that maybe difference between this year's crew and when you guys were first starting out?
No, absolutely. I think as my old self, I've seen the evolution of a lot of these Cincinnati teams under Coach Fick, and I think that is probably one of the biggest differences in those teams versus the teams now. It's that no matter what situation we're in, there's no panic on the sideline. You never see guys get out of themselves because of the score. Because I think deep down we've seen time and time again that if we do what we need to do, regardless of the situation, we will play ourselves back into the game. And I think that's just who we are now. And I think it's been awesome to be a part of.
Coach Vick spoke a lot about the penalties on Friday night, particularly the targeting. As a defense and as one of the leaders of that defense, how much are you like, all right, guys, we have to shore this up and knock out those penalties and to not make our lives harder out there?
Yeah, I mean it's something that we just can't do, and especially when we're playing good teams, it's something that will bite us in the butt. It didn't against ECU, but it will. And I mean, if we want to get to where we're going, we can't let that affect what we do. We have to stay within ourselves and play with each other, because a lot of the penalties, they're just completely unnecessary. And that's on me as one of the leaders on this defense is just bring the guys in and just remind them that that stuff is all extra. It doesn't have to do with what we want to do. And so, I think that's something that we got to address as a team, and then I got to take full responsibility for those things.
Have you seen, with some of the injuries up front on the defensive line, does that put any more pressure or emphasis on the linebacking crew?
I don't think so. I think the same expectation is held with linebackers. I think the guy with the injuries that we may have had, I think the guys that have stepped up and done an incredible job. So it's not like we're playing with our hands tied behind our back. We still have an expectation to go out and make plays and be the leaders of the defense at the linebacker level. And I think it really hasn't changed. I think guys up front have done an absolutely incredible job. And without them, we wouldn't be having the season we are.
Temple has really started to gain momentum offensively after making the switch to E.J. Warner at quarterback. Just talk about what you've been able to see from him on film now that you head into game week.
Yeah, he's a young guy. Haven't seen a whole lot yet. We're still getting into that preparation. But he, from what we can tell, he's a baller. He throws that thing around. He's confident in what he does. And he's led an offense to over 500 yards of offense in the last 2 weeks. So they're very capable in what they do. But ultimately it comes on what we need to do and how we prepare.
Joe and Justin.
Coach Fickle was in the room about a half hour ago, and he said that this is when the playoffs start. It's obviously a message he gave to us. I'm sure he said it to you guys as well. How aware are you of the urgency of what you guys have to accomplish here in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, I think it's very prevalent in what we're doing. November is for contenders, and we're in a spot now that we are capable of doing everything that we set out to do this year. So I don't know if, you know, the urgency is even higher. I think, you know, we're still going about the business, you know, the way we've done it in the past. But I think it's in the back of their head that, you know, we have two weeks left in the regular season. So, you know, the message to us was like, what are you willing to do for 2 weeks? Because in 2 weeks, if we do what we need to do, we're gonna have a chance to achieve our goal.
Do you find yourself taking stock of last Nippert night? You know, you have your actual real senior night coming up in a couple weeks. Are you thinking about that, or are you trying to avoid thinking about it?
You know, I'm trying to avoid thinking about it, but ultimately, it's a very human, you know, feeling. You know, walking off, you know, Nippert on Friday was kind of a, you know, surreal feeling. It was like, man, like walking out, I kind of took stock in it because you know, I always call my parents before the game, and you know, my dad always reminded me kind of have fun. His big thing is like have fun and stay in the moment. You know, don't let things, you know, get too big. And his message to me was like, you know, take stock of when you walk out, because you know that's a feeling that you can chase your whole life and never can get it back. But you know, it is something that I think about, but it doesn't really affect what I do day to day.
Along those lines, you have 2 really big games and a lot at stake here. There's a lot going on in that last week. It'll be your last game at Nippert and your senior night. And how do you make sure that you and others aren't looking ahead to that Tulane game and are locked in on this Temple game?
Yeah, it's tough, but you know, ultimately we know that, you know, to get to where we want to do, we have to take care of this week first. Temple has, you know, been a tough opponent the last couple of years, and I think they're picking up steam. So you know, we have to recognize that in order to, you know, do what we need to do, we have to, you know, take care of business this week.
As a senior, is there a little bit of stress on this home win streak when you guys play at Nippert to not let down the guys that got you here?
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to be the guy that, you know, lets that streak go, but it's not something that, you know, you go into the week thinking like, I'm not gonna lose this streak, because you know, no one goes into a game thinking about, you know, not trying to lose. You know, we go into every game expecting to win, and so it's just I guess a byproduct of that. It's not something that, you know, we really think about too much. You know, but you know, been blessed, lucky, you know, been good enough to say that we haven't had to, you know, deal with that, and I don't expect that we will this year.
Doesn't cross your mind on when they convert a 4th and 13 in a 2-point game in the fourth quarter, like, you better buckle up here?
I mean, yeah, in those circumstances in the game, it's, you know, we better buckle up, but it's never, you know, never about the streak or about, you know, anything else. It's about that specific game. But when you walk off, you're like, man, I'm glad we pulled that one out for sure.
Any other questions for Will? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks,
Thank
Will.
you guys.